not a test, but I'm not running the credits or anything. Mario Ficini is live. Cool. Can I edit this real quick? I can do whatever I want. It's my show. Edit live video. How do you rename it? Stream health graphics. I'm going to be counting. I invite you, I welcome you, and we're going to work on the show. I'm going to set a timer. Timer, 20 minutes. Actually, 19. Okay. I just got done giving I did give a great interview, but I was on Michael Rager's show, and I'm going to be on Mike Simmons next, and we have some time here, so we're going to produce EA interviews real time. I'm going to double check this. Actually, I don't need to, and we don't have time. I have to get through 99 intros in the next 18 minutes and 30 seconds. So I used to do this behind the scenes. I might have some food or a drink or something around, and I thought, you know what? I thank you for watching EAinterviews.com. And so let's produce it together. So all right. Unless you've been on the show, this is normally what I do behind the scenes. Oh, I say, hey, Steve and Nick, today we have so-and-so. Today we have Mario Ficini. He's going to be reading off a lot of intros. Little secret. Boom, boom. And I don't even need to do this. I already know it's corrected from the last one. Boom, boom, boom. If you know what that is, cool. If not, it's on the equipment list, eainterviews.com/equipment. So if you've listened to the show, which I know you have, thank you again, you'll hear in the beginning, EA Interviews, episode 202. One's out of the way. EA Interviews, episode 203. EA Interviews, episode 204. EA Interviews, episode 205. EA Interviews, episode 206. EA Interviews, episode 207. EA Interviews, episode 208. EA Interviews, episode 209. EA Interviews, episode 209. EA Interviews, episode 210. EA Interviews, episode 211. EA Interviews, episode 212. EA Interviews, episode 213. 214? Yeah. EA Interviews, episode 214. EA Interviews, wait. Shh. Quiet on the set. What am I on, 214? EA. EA Interviews, episode 215. EA Interviews, episode 214. I don't even know if I did that one twice, but now I have it. EA Interviews, episode 216. EA Interviews, episode 217. EA Interviews, episode 218. EA Interviews, episode 219. EA Interviews, episode 220. I'm trying to entertain you, but normally I do this off camera, but I think it's fun because I got to record it either way. The thing is, I've done it before, after, during, before, after, doing, whatever. EA... Leverage your time. Do it before or after doing interviews. Don't do it in the middle of them. Or just make a whole episode on it. EA Interviews, episode 221. EA Interviews, episode 222. EA Interviews, episode 223. EA Interviews, episode 224. EA Interviews, episode 225. EA Interviews, episode... not feeling that one. 225? If someone can keep count for me, that would be great. Where is this thing? EA Interviews, episode 225. The cool thing is, I don't necessarily need the video, I just need the audio. All right. 225? We on 225? 225 for the win. EA Interviews, episode 226. EA Interviews, episode 227. EA Interviews, episode 228. That's my birthday. EA Interviews, episode 229. Yeah, 200s. 28. Well, whatever. EA Interviews, episode 229. Depending on the year, that could be my birthday too. EA Interviews, episode 230. Now, I gotta admit, I don't like doing it this way because now I have to slice all this crap up where normally I just hit record and stop and they're all their own clips, but I still have to trim them. What am I on? EA Interviews, episode 230. EA Interviews, episode 231. EA Interviews, episode 232. EA Interviews, episode 233. EA Interviews, episode 234. EA Interviews, episode 235. EA Interviews, episode 235. That one was good. Hey, someone put your number below. I'll text you while I'm doing this. I think that would be fun. EA Interviews, episode 236. Stay focused. I want to do some other voices while I'm doing this. 236. EA Interviews, episode 237. EA Interviews, episode 238. EA Interviews, episode 239. EA Interviews, episode 240. EA Interviews, episode 241. EA Interviews, episode 242. EA Interviews, episode 243. EA Interviews, episode 244. Yeah, that's the right number. EA Interviews, episode 244. EA Interviews, episode 245. EA Interviews, episode 246. EA Interviews. Nope. Not happening. 246. Are we on 246? Can I get 246? EA Interviews, episode 246. That's pretty aggressive. EA Interviews, episode 247. EA Interviews, episode 248. I felt like I wasn't saying my words right there. EA Interviews, episode 248. EA Interviews, episode 249. Here we go. EA Interviews, episode 250. EA Interviews, episode 251. This is why you get an audio interface. That last one was red on here, and it's supposed to be green. Might have to adjust that in Audition. Did I do 250? I did 250. EA Interviews, episode 251. EA Interviews, episode 252. EA Interviews, episode 253. EA Interviews, episode 254. EA Interviews, episode 255. EA Interviews, episode 256. EA Interviews, episode 257. EA Interviews, episode 258. EA Interviews, episode 259. EA Interviews, episode 260. EA Interviews, episode 261. EA Interviews, episode 262. No. EA Interviews, episode 261. EA Interviews, episode 262. EA Interviews, episode 263. EA Interviews, episode 264. EA Interviews, episode 265. EA Interviews, episode 266. EA Interviews, episode 267. EA Interviews, episode 268. EA Interviews, episode 269. EA Interviews, episode 270. EA Interviews, episode 271. EA Interviews, episode 272. EA Interviews, episode 273. EA Interviews, episode 274. EA Interviews, episode 275. EA Interviews, episode 276. EA Interviews, episode 277. EA Interviews, episode 278. I did 7. EA Interviews, episode 277. EA Interviews, episode 278. EA Interviews, episode 279. EA Interviews, episode 280. EA Interviews, episode 281. EA Interviews, episode 282. EA Interviews, episode 283. EA Interviews, episode 284. This might be too loud. EA Interviews, episode 285. EA Interviews, episode 285. EA Interviews, episode 286. EA Interviews. EA Interviews. EA Interview. Nope. Almost there. EA Interviews, episode 286. EA Interviews, episode 287. EA Interviews, episode 278. What the heck? 287. EA Interviews, episode 287. EA Interviews, episode 288. EA Interviews, episode 289. EA Interviews, episode 290. EA Interviews, episode 291. EA Interviews, episode 292. EA Interviews, episode 293. EA Interviews, episode 294. EA Interviews, episode 295. EA Interviews, episode 295. EA Interviews. EA Interviews, episode 295. I know that was twice. EA Interviews, episode 296. EA Interviews, episode 297. EA Interviews, episode 298. EA Interviews, episode 299. EA Interviews, episode 300! And just for good measure, EA Interviews, nope, too low. EA Interviews, episode 301. 4 minutes to spare. Head of schedule. 10 minutes ahead of the interview. Oh, wait. I'm looking at the screen over here. Where's my software? All right, fam. Thank you. God bless. Don't say you don't have time. I just did the next 100 episodes. I'm already 20 or 30 into it. And I've been like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I wanted to do it between filming yesterday and today. I love getting a recording. Let's see. Maybe I can chat for a few more minutes. I should go. Mike's link. Cool. Yeah, the keyboard. Join the meeting, 1 tap. Cool, 1 link. Yeah, I'll come early. Do them a favor. I love when people show up early for me. Have a great day. All right, Expert Authority World. We have another great episode here today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless.